Hey, hello guys. Wow, second day. Mic, the recording system, first try. We're rolling here. Hello, how are you guys doing? This is Shantae. It is Wednesday, June 17th, 2026, and I'm glad to be here with you guys. Hello, everyone. I'm glad to be here and share my analysis and trading journey with you. Before I get started, I would like to mention that the FOMC interest rate decision is today, and we have a new Fed chairman, Kevin Warsh. I do not trade during the press conference due to the increased volatility and uncertainty. In addition, the United States and Iran appear to be getting closer to reaching an agreement that could lead to the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. But I would advise the geopolitical developments can change quickly, and by the time this is published, my information can be outdated. Yeah, so I was in the gym today. I was listening to Bloomberg Asia, Bloomberg Europe, and so forth. And they were talking about that there were actually some ships, Iranian ships, hanging out, near Qatar or whatnot, and they were able to move along. I think move their tankers along and sell their oil. I've also heard that the deal that is being proposed can provide substantial financial gains for Iran. I don't know the details of the agreement, but they say that it's a there is definitely some financial gain for Iran. Um, we've also heard about the 300 billion development fund um, that is that would be shared or part of the Arab states like Saudi Arabia and so forth. In what did they say? In repairing the the damage or so forth, you know, Hormuz Strait, etc. So it in my opinion, from the deal that was already in place back when Obama was president, it seemed like Iran may in fact be earning much more money um, than it did in the past. Now, I think at the same time, Iran is happy to be able to sell its oil, that the 600 or so ships that are trapped in the Strait of Hormuz can now um, start operating again. They were saying like dry docking because, ships have been sitting in the Strait of Hormuz collecting seaweed and mussels and all that stuff that they probably need a dry dock and be cleaned. That's the bottom of the ship. So, but to have things moving along, I think is really great. And I don't know if, yes, Iran, you know, you know, did a good job surviving, putting pressure on the economy of the on a global scale by preventing tankers and to pass to the Strait of Hormuz. But I think that nobody wants to have to deal with that again. So hopefully this doesn't occur again. Um, but you got to give credit that there's going to be people, there's going to be countries that are creative, are inventive. You know, like who knew that the Iran's capabilities, you know, um, could outmaneuver the United States. But there's always going to be somebody out there who's very creative, very smart, very intelligent. And I believe that whoever's in the Iranian administration, there's probably some very intelligent people there. You know, they've held out, they've survived, and in return, I believe that they receive a financial gain. Like, things have not been signed yet. I believe it's due to be signed in Switzerland this Friday. So, like I said, my information can be outdated by the time this published. But they did say that Iranian tankers are moving through the strait, so they are able to sell their oil. All right. In regards to, like I said, there is the FOMC interest rate decision today. I'm not a, you know, I don't plan to trade the FOMC speech, where he walks out and he gives his remarks, and I don't intend on trading the press conference. Volatility and uncertainty. Never know. And there's been moments where I've almost skipped the FOMC day altogether because I used to think that FOMC kind of affected my analysis in a way. Sometimes when I would do my analysis in the past, like, it would work on FOMC days. For some reason, it wouldn't work. So I almost considered the FOMC day like a holiday and just don't trade on it. And it could still be a good idea not to trade on the FOMC date, but I'm going to try and hope that my system can work at the US Open. Yesterday was both good and bad. The good news is that my system, which is now about 95% automated, correctly identified the market direction at the open. The bad news was the take profit TP size. In my matching configuration tool, I incorporated what I jokingly call a magic ball. Essentially, I wanted AI to analyze my trading history and suggest an appropriate TP level. Yesterday, the suggested TP was higher than my historical average, which seemed strange. However, I thought perhaps the tool was identifying something I had overlooked. A reminder of how easily we can place our trust in machines. As it turned out, the TP was set too high. While the market did have a bullish open, it did not have enough momentum to reach my target. The market eventually retraced and hit my stop loss. As a result, I removed that feature from my configuration tool. I could have easily edited it out, the tool, but I said, you know what? The system, the configuration tool, the things that I've created so far is already doing so much for me. Like, right now, let me just delete it and I can come back to it later. Like, I don't mind setting my own TP for myself. Like, I don't need it to do everything. And I should have had a TP of like 30 ticks yesterday to the upside at the open rather than 53 ticks. And 53 ticks, that was higher than the previous charts that that correlated to the date that correlated to yesterday. My other charts had 38 ticks, 40 ticks. I would have probably been conservative and probably chose 30 ticks. But 53, I don't know why I chose 53 ticks. I am still very proud of what I created. With the help of Gemini, I was able to automate most, if not all, my process. As a result, I can now spend more time backtesting and collecting data, which only makes my system stronger. The time I used to spend performing repetitive tasks can now be invested in research, simulations, and refining my edge. While there's still work to be done, the automation has been a major step forward, improving both my efficiency and the quality of my analysis. And that is 100% true, right? Like, so far I've been, just collecting data, going, running the system, going back. Like, for example, I've been going back to the month of February in 2025, doing all the charts for each day of that month, so that I have data. And it's been cool because I think today's projections is based off of a chart that I did in the month of February of 2025. So, yeah, I just been back testing and collecting data. All right, so this is today's chart. Um, and as you can see, there's just, no support issues, no tight ratios outside the WLR, no tight ratios over zero. There is in the primary, but it's still tight ratio. No holiday on trade day, and I do believe that there's a holiday on Friday, Juneteenth. So, be mindful of that. And then when I ran the results through my closely matching historical setups, I got 100% match. And that was based on February 3rd, 2025. You see some of the components line up. And today I'm probably going to utilize two micro contracts. Yesterday I did one, hit the loss, that was $83. The day before that I used two, hit the loss, $162. So today I'm planning to do two, especially when I have 100% match. 100% match, went through the matching criteria. I felt comfortable about it. So yeah. All right, here's a look at my calendar. Like I said, you know, down $43. Worst day 162. Win rate 50%. The name of the game is just trying to stay in as long as possible. 15 and 16 on the 15th and 16th, those I could have jumped back in the market and compounded those losses. I could have been looking at 200, 300, for the 15th, 100 to 200 on the 16th. Who knows? But I've learned how to just accept my stop loss and do my research, figure out what went wrong, and feel comfortable about it. And I'm not going to forget that when looking at my past evals and realizing, had I just reduced the size of my losses, I could have been much further along. Much, much further along. I could have been past the evaluation phase. I could have been in the funded phase. It's not that that my system wasn't working or that I was a bad trader. Is that I just need to learn how to manage my losses better. So hopefully today we can make back maybe one of the days. We could make back the 15th. If I'm going to be using two MES contracts for 68 ticks, that's gonna wipe away the loss I took on the 15th. That'll put me back into profit. That'll wipe out one of my losses, and I still have another day to try to to continue to move forward. But I've already been trading with Aqua Futures for 4 trading days, which is great. I know people who have lost their accounts 15 minutes, lost their accounts within 15 minutes of buying a new eval. So my goal is just to not get distracted, not try to put on too much size, and just continue to do my analysis and look for those right setups. I must remind myself that it is not losses alone that cause me to lose trading accounts or prevent me from reaching a payout. It is when I compound those losses by continuing to trade after things have gone wrong. So far with Aqua Futures, I have been honoring my stop loss and stepping away from the market whenever it is hit. It has not been easy, but it also has not been as bad as I expected. Even though I have taken 2 losses, I am grateful to still be in the game. I am now 4 trading days into my Aqua Futures evaluation. I have heard stories of traders blowing up their accounts within 15 minutes of purchasing an evaluation account. While my progress may seem slow, I view staying disciplined and preserving my account as a victory in itself. And maybe because I'm a little bit still very happy and excited about automating a lot of my steps, like spending, close to a week and a half, 2 weeks of like sitting down with Gemini and automating a lot of things. Like I'm still very impressed with that, with the results of that. So that's kind of like kept me away from thinking about my losses so dang much, But when my stop loss is hit, accepting a loss, stepping away from the market is the best thing that I can do right now. And that's it. Not a long video. Like I said, I'm looking for a bullish open, 60 to 68 ticks, 2 MES contracts. And I really look forward to knocking it out of the park today, to nailing it today. All right. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Like I said, if not, what if the FOMC day, what if today, screws up my plans? That can always be something as well. Just the fact that it's FOMC day, could create uncertainty and volatility in itself. So we'll definitely see. All right. But have a great day. Speak to you guys later. Bye-bye.